I was introduced to the video game realm a tad late than most other people. For most, if not all, of my early childhood, I was isolated from other kids and I had next to no social interactions. My days were spent in a prison-like school, and my nights rotted away with mind-numbing TV. Life was dull and boring. All I had were my stuffed animals and cheap plastic toys to talk to. That's when I got a GameCube. It was the Christmas of 2003, I believe. I was overjoyed at having my own video game station. It came with games like Super Mario Sunshine, Pac-Man World 2, and Pokemon Channel. Each of those games still hold a special place in my heart today. As soon as the GameCube was set up and ready to go, I began playing it immediately. The first game I played was Super Mario Sunshine. This game is what got me hooked onto the Mario series. After playing it for hours straight and finally finding a level I just couldn't get past, I turned to Pac-Man World 2. Amazingly enough, I got stuck on level 2. Infuriated that I couldn't find the way out, even though the answer was literally right in front of my eyes, I quit and started playing my first ever Pokemon game, Pokemon Channel. As soon as I turned the game on, I knew this game was going to be different from the other two. It didn't take me long to fall in love with the game. When the time came for me to name my Pikachu, I unwittingly named it BRVR, short for brother. What compelled me to give him such a strange nickname that didn't even sound like a shortened version of brother, I'll never know. But regardless, I still enjoyed playing. There is no way for me to describe the love I felt towards the game. It was everything that I had ever dreamed of. In this game, I had a friend that I could play with. It all took place in the Pokemon World 2, which I had already loved before I even got Pokemon Channel. I could watch TV with my best friend, BRVR, and go fishing with him, play checkers with him, talk to other Pokemon with him, grow a garden with him, build a snowman with him, explore ancient ruins with him, play musicals with him, sit around campfires and tell stories with him, gaze at the stars with him. All the things I never got to experience in real life, I was able to do in this virtual world. With BRVR, the best friend I never had. I was obviously overly addicted to the game, but I had nothing else to use up my time with. So instead, I spent it all into this game, oblivious to all things that happened in the real world. I preferred to live my life in this Pokemon fantasy with my best friend, BRVR. BRVR seemed like more than just a virtual animated 3D model forced to do his actions based on the programming of the game. He seemed real to me. If I was ever sad one day, he would appear to look and act depressed too. If I was ever angry, he would show and express my rage. During that play of the game too, if I needed something to cheer me up, he would act silly and leap at me and do other idiotic things too. Later on, when I grew older and wiser, I just assumed that all of these strange events never really happened, when I was younger. I had just simply imagined it. But it was still fun to pretend he was real. As the years passed, I got more games. I had acquired a Game Boy, which along with it came more Pokemon games, where I could have more than just a single Pikachu. My interests also floated to different series like Mario and Sonic. After playing Pokemon Channel so many times and doing the same things over and over again, it starts to get a bit boring. I started playing it a little less, and other games more and more, but I still gave Pokemon Channel a play every now and then. Eventually, I changed schools, and my whole life changed. I was moved from a private Christian school to a public school, and my eyes were open to reality. I started to learn new things about real life, which helped me enjoy it more. People weren't mean and cruel to me. They would say hi when I passed them in the halls. I discovered I could do more than just play video games. I could draw. There were thousands of songs I could listen to. My grades started dramatically rising. But the best part of it all was that I got a new friend. A real friend. One who was flesh and blood. She was funny and helped me get used to the school, and was somebody I can talk to besides my parents. We both had the same immature and mock everything in every possible way kind of minds. I finally had a best friend. While I started to grow in both body and mind, Pokemon Channel was slowly forgotten. I moved on to greater and better games. Most all the things I could do in the game, I was able to do in real life now. BRVR was replaced by my real-life best friend. He and the game had become obsolete, forgotten on a dusty shelf in the dark corner of the room. For the next couple of years, life was golden. Each day I would learn something new, and I had a ton of fun with my best friend. I made a few other friends too, but no one could top my best friend. Every now and then I'd get a new game, get some money, and go do something with my best friend. Draw something, listen to music. I never wished for anything more. Good things never last. Eventually, I had to move. I protested and threw a fit, but to no avail. Trying to stop the tears from falling down my face, I told my best friend goodbye on my last day of school. For the next few nights, I cried myself to sleep at my new house. But eventually I stopped. Having one of my main reasons to live in life ripped away, tore a hole in my heart that will never be completely healed. But the pain eventually became less and less. I still had contact with my best friend, though. We both had YouTube accounts, and we would talk to each other over the internet. We'd call each other, too, and have sleepovers, and sometimes see a movie together. But it hurt to not have her at school anymore. I made some new friends at my new school, even more than at my old school, but none of them were as funny as my best friend. None of them could replace her. Just when I thought I could get used to this lifestyle, one of the most dreadful things happened. For her sake, I won't post what my friend did, but she did something horrible, and my mom refused to let me speak to or see her ever again. My heart was utterly smashed into thousands of pieces. I felt like I had nothing left to live for. My best and what felt like my only friend was now gone from me forever. I now sunk back into my old habits, playing video games and isolating myself from the rest of the world. I didn't like to go out anymore. I refused to leave my room except to go to school, eat, use the restroom, and visit my dad every other weekend. Now that my best friend had been snatched from me, and that I didn't do anything in real life anymore, I needed something to replace them. Searching through my ancient shelf of old games, I pulled out Pokemon Channel. I brushed the dust off the cover. It felt like it had been an eternity since I've gazed upon the game. I inserted the game disc into the GameCube, grabbed my controller, and waited to meet my old virtual friend, BRVR. A tear fell down my cheek as memories flooded back while I stared at the title screen. After a moment of soaking in the old nostalgia, I selected Continue. I eagerly selected Yes when the information appeared of my currently saved game and asking if it was correct. As the transition Pokeballs rolled across the screen, I couldn't wait to see BRVR again. When the transition was over, I appeared to be in my room. The normal cutscene where Pikachu was asleep on top of the shelf and wakes up didn't play. But at this moment, I had almost completely forgotten about that. The only thing on my mind was BRVR. As I searched around the room, though, he wasn't anywhere in sight. Dee-ba-dee? Dee-ba-dee! The Delibird that delivers the goods you buy from the shop in Squirtle Channel was at the door. I smiled warmly at the sight. I remember I bought something from that channel almost every day when I was younger. I thought I must have bought something the last time I played and completely forgotten about it. Curious about what was in the delivery, I eagerly headed for the door. Pika! A deep moaning sound stopped me before I could reach the door. I turned the screen and saw BRVR climbing out from under the bed. He looked beat up and depressed. I had never seen him climb out from underneath the bed before, except for when he's searching for Pokemon Mini in the beginning of the game. When he turned and saw me, a shocked expression came over his face, like it normally should. "Hey, brother, it's me," I whispered, even though I knew he couldn't hear me. Instead of a joyous look and cheering, "Pika, Pika," he acquired an infuriated look on his face. I was a bit confused as to why he was angry. But before I could ponder at the subject, Dee-ba-dee, the Delibird came again from the door. Banishing the whole incident from my thoughts, I turned and opened the door. I was comforted when the Delibird handed over the box and BRVR smiled and waved as Delibird flew off. A package arrived with merchandise from Shop and Squirtle. I quickly pressed A as that message appeared. I wondered what was inside the as BRVR leaned inside the box and took out the items. You got a Pikachu TVZ. The Pikachu TVZ has been displayed. A menacing and quite gruesome-looking Pikachu TV was set up in the replacement of my old Voltorb TV. It looked like a Pikachu head facing towards you with its jaws wide open. Inside its mouth was the TV screen with its fangs hanging over the top and bottom. It looked like the skin was tearing and ripping apart at places, like the TV screen was too large for its mouth. I was a bit shocked at how scary the TV looked. You got Red Wallpaper Z. The wallpaper has been displayed. I gasped when the wallpaper was put up. It was dark red like dried blood. Pikachus with sick, twisted smiles were repeated all across it. They were each bright red, freshly drawn blood. I was beginning to worry. You got Pikachu Doll Z. The doll has been displayed. I winced with fear when I saw the morbid Pikachu placed on top of one of the shelves. It had the same eerie grin as the Pikachus on the wallpaper, except with long fangs. Its eyes were small, ruby red, and dilated. The tip of its tail curved inwards like a hook, and it had sharp-looking claws. Numerous dried streaks of blood were all along its body. You got Pikachu Doll Z. The doll has been displayed. You got Pikachu Doll Z. The doll has been displayed. You got Pikachu Doll Z. The doll has been displayed. The same sequence happened over and over until the entire room was filled with disturbing Pikachu dolls. They replaced all of the other dolls. BRVR got up and looked around the room. He nodded in satisfaction and walked towards the TV. I sat in my chair, stricken with fear, even though it had been years since I played this game. I knew these items were never in it. Pika! A threatening and commanding call came from Pikachu. He was standing in front of the TV, giving me a glare. I knew he wanted me to go over there. I walked to the TV and turned it on. It opened the report channel like normal, but to my horror, the screen looked like it had blood dripping down it. I changed the channels and looked all that way. I quickly opened up my diary, which in this game is the start menu. I clicked on the TVS tab. I chose the Voltorb TV, but as soon as I did, my diary closed without me pressing B. BRVR was standing at me with threatening glare and shook his head disapprovingly. BRVR turned back to the TV and changed it to the Fortune channel. This channel seemed normal, except for the blood dripping down the screen. Choose your cookie. The words drifted by the bottom of the TV screen. I chose the top one like I always do. The cookie floated down into Chansey's hands and cracked open. Do you really want to know your fortune? The words appeared on the screen. I froze with fear. Something about that fortune seemed eerie. It appeared that the Chansey on the screen was laughing. BRVR changed the channel again. He changed it to the relaxation channel. Instead of the Fluffy Marie, what greeted me were morbid Pikachus that looked just like the dolls jumping over the fence. I quickly pressed B and went back to the center of the room. Normally BRVR would turn around and motion me to come back and watch it with him. This time he didn't seem to care. I walked over to my old painting, a beautifully colored Jirachi, surrounded by cute Pikachu border hung against the wall. I sighed with relief. At least one thing was still normal. I took a few moments to stare at the old painting, mostly because I didn't want to look at the gruesome wallpaper of the horrifying dolls. BRVR is looking at the painting too.